Good evening, everyone, and
Evening.
it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you to the first of its kind webinar interview series, that is Talks from the Boardrooms. And today we will be speaking on business excellence through lean techniques. And let me start with the powerful quote of John F. Kennedy. Leadership and the learnings are indispensable to each other. So let's begin our journey of sharpening our boardroom skills. And as we all know that strong boards and executive leadership is essential for the success of each company and for empowering the top management and the boardrooms. We have today with us Mr. J.J. Shrikhande. So let me also take the opportunity to introduce our speaker for today. And Mr. Jayan Shrikhande has been a mechanical engineer with the postgraduate in SQC and OR from Indian Statistical Institute. Retired, he is retired as CEO and the country head China for the Larsen and Toubro Limited, with 46 years of enormous experience in heading organizations like IBM India, Ricoh India, Tata's RPG Group, Tandon Group. So, and he's been consulting and mentoring past 7 years and been associated with lots of MBA colleges and schools. So, welcome Shrikhande sir to this webinar series of Mentor My Board. And on behalf of Mentor My Board, I, Divya Mumaya, welcome you. And we would be having some interaction today on some best practices and how the excellence, business excellence can help companies to grow better and faster. So
Thank you, Devya, for introducing me. And it will be my pleasure to be part of MMB advisors and to help Indian boards look up to the challenges which are being faced by the Indian industries today. Yeah.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. So, to start with, we would like to know about your enormous industry experience in the corporate India. So, over to you, sir, please.
Yeah. Well, I started my work with Larsen Toubro, a very good engineering company, as far back as 1967, which is exactly 53 years ago.
Wow.
As all of you know, Larsen Toubro today is probably about 160,000 crore company. It was much smaller though that time, but the basic techniques of TQM and lean were ingrained even that time in L&T. So L&T gave me a very good exposure as a fresh engineer to work on the shop floor to try and use these techniques for efficiency improvement. Simultaneously, while working for L&T, I joined this post-graduation program in statistical quality control and operations research, which was a part-time program being run by Indian Statistical Institute in South Mumbai. And you can imagine staying in Chembur and going to Larsen Toubro Powai, going all the way to South Bombay, coming back was 100 kilometers drive every day. Now that drive, yes, 100 kilometers drive every day, 6 days a week, including Sunday. Okay, so that the drive to improve and to learn was one of the main things which has pushed me for so far. So after working for 2 years in Larsen Toubro, I got the chance to shift over to IBM India. IBM India those days, which was 1969, was making key card punching machines, which is a big electromechanical printer, you can say, kind of a thing. We are having about 5,000 different items. Joining as a quality control engineer, rising to become a quality control manager only within 1 year of joining IBM. And it was a golden opportunity, I would say, to work in an MNC like IBM, to get a lot of exposure to how big companies work and how the systems and procedures are laid down in big companies. Of course, I got further 2 more promotions, joined as engineering manager, then as purchase manager within IBM. And then IBM closed down in 77 when Janata government had come into power. But during IBM, I was sent to Japan to in connection with transfer of technology for a new product which was to be manufactured in IBM India plant for exports, 100% exports to Japan. So I was a young engineer that time also, and studying operations research and statistical quality control gave me a tremendous boost to learn new things. In going to Japan for, I think that was a 1.5 months trip to IBM's plant near Tokyo, Fujisawa plant, give me tremendous exposure to how Japanese work. See, all these new techniques of lean and TQM, which is taking the world ahead, uh, all have originated from Japan. And of course, US and European companies followed later. So that was probably the building block for me to go into this techniques, learning these techniques and physically grasping. And of course, I use this very efficiently in IBM also, because I was in my last stint in IBM, which was probably what 1972 to 77. I was made a purchase manager when sorry, there was a big pressure from the industries minister that time, George Fernandez, during Janata government, to stop imports of components. So we were kind of forced to develop almost 7,000 different types of precision mechanical and electrical items. Electronics was not so much prevalent that day. And we sourced these 7,000 items in about 5 years' time, all from suppliers in and around Mumbai. That was, and they are very, very precision items. And that gave me a very good exposure to engineering as such, quality as well as procurement, because I was purchase manager handling team of these three groups of people. So IBM 1977 closed down because of Janata government policy. They wanted Indian participation in IBM, which IBM refused, and Coca-Cola also refused. So they wound up their operations. So my family had some business in Gujarat. So I moved over there manufacturing chemicals. It was a very small company. Um, and I was there for 5 years. And in a 5 years' time, we grew by about 15 times in the revenue, 15 times. But again, application of lean and TQM techniques. I'm not a chemist, but it was a chemical company. But handling marketing, handling finance, and improving the productivity on the shop floor, changing processes, basically chemical processes, by just lean thinking and what should I say, analytical mind helped me doing that. That was the time Gandhinagar electronics estate was coming up in Gujarat, and that was 1982. And through some reference, somebody from Rico, Japanese company, had tied up with the RPG Group's Murphy India. Murphy used to have radios and TVs those days. So somehow through reference, they requested me to join that company. I had a tough time leaving my family business, but I did join them as a general manager. And it was a new plant which was to be set up. Right from construction stage, I was involved because it was a new industrial park. So that was an experience to in project management for me at that, you can say, so relatively young age. So I did that, and then of course I visited Japan several times to Rico to help set up the plant, and I set up the plant within 6 months after start. Building itself was constructed in 6 or 7 months, a record by itself. Again, lean thinking. In lean, one has
what
to
do you
think
mean by
of.
just to interrupt, sir? What do you mean by lean thinking?
Okay.
And what exactly that concept is? So if you know just throw light on
Okay.
that,
Sure.
that's
Sure.
really
Sure.
helpful.
See, lean thinking is basically, as the word says, lean thinks of ways which are not visible to human eye. See, normally if something is rejected on the shop floor or is being reworked, yes, one can see being reworked. But lean looks at things which are not visible normally, even to management or the owners or the board members. Just to give one or two examples, of course, we will talk during the lecture. For example, the machine utilization. Okay, you have, let's say, 8 hours, 480 minutes of working available, but all 480 minutes the machine is not working. The various losses which we have, the losses in the form of setup time, when you change from one part to other, there's a setup time involved. Okay, then there is the loss relating to quality loss. You may make 100 pieces but only 80 get passed, so that is the loss. And the third big loss is against standard time. In that time, whatever was available on the machine, how much you could have produced theoretically and how much did you produce. So if you multiply these three factors, it may come to only 30-40%. So even if you take, let's say, each of the factor is 0.9, 90%, you're 90% good in quality, 90% good in productivity against standard, and 90% good in machine availability. 90% of the time machine is still, if you multiply 3.9s, you're coming to 72% only. That means 28% inefficiency is there. Now this thinking itself of looking at hidden things, that these are hidden losses, they are not visible. And most of the companies, particularly in medium and small scale industry, don't record these things. Now unless you record these, how do you know? Now board members are there, how do they know these things? And as I told you, typically, when we talk, when I make the presentation, typically you would be shocked to know that only 5 to 10% of the activity which we do on the shop floor is value added. The rest 95% is non-value added, which for which customer doesn't pay. So the 6 losses I told you, similarly there are 8 wastes which are known as Tim Woods. Transportation, unnecessary inventory, unnecessary movement, unnecessary wait from one process to other, over processing, over production, and skill mismatch. So these 8 wastes and 6 losses are the key of losses in the company, and that is where the lean hits at. Yeah, so coming back to my thing, so Rico was one, and then I had an opportunity to come back to Mumbai and work for Tandon Group of companies, which was India's biggest electronic hardware exporter. We were making, so I got an opportunity to head their company making floppy drives. This was 1989. Okay, so 89 we were making floppy drives. Then we started manufacturing PCs. First, Tandon Group was 100% export business. So PCs we were making, when I started the PC plant, we were making 400 PCs a day, and we were the biggest in the India. That time HCL was making PC probably 250, 300 a day. Of course, we were not selling in India, but you can imagine setting up a new plant right from scratch for 400 PCs a day. So that was one. Then I was asked to take over their head manufacturing company. All these companies were employing 2 to 3,000 people. Total employment in this was an electronic export processing zone here was almost 10,000 attendants. So the first company was PC making, and that was maybe about 2,000 people. Then second was hard disk drive, had another 3,000 people. This is very precision manufacturing, where everything is done under clean room, and you put on the garments and hand gloves, etc. What you see these days, all doctors putting on this to treat COVID. So that was the thing. So because the cleanliness element was very important there. So there I had a very good chance to apply these lean and TQM techniques. Just to give you the summary, we used to have a scrap rate of 17% for a major item. Within 1 year, it was brought down to 0.3. It was a 10 years old running industry, so it was not new. From 17 to 0.3, the work in progress, the inventory was 37 days, which was brought down to 3 days in a less than year's time. So that gave me tremendous opportunity to apply. And this 17 to 0.3 is close to zero, I mean, the Six Sigma. In India in 89, Six Sigma had not even come. Six Sigma came much later. It was Motorola which started, and in late 80s, same time in USA, but in India it came around 94, 95. So this was achieved prior to even Indian companies knowing Six Sigma. Okay. Then I was asked to go to Sri Lanka to set up two units for Tandon Group. One was for power supply manufacturing, and another one was for hard disk drive head manufacturing. So I do power supply also. We were supplying to all major big companies like IBM, Compaq, Apple, Olivetti, etc., etc. All mass production, and so there's a technique known as Kanban techniques of lean, which we applied. I had to apply in all these companies. So that was a very good experience. Then there was a lull in the market. So 99, I was MD of the China company, Tandon. So I got an opportunity to go to China. China, Shenzhen was the first SEZ in the world. The whole city is a special economic zone. The whole city, when you enter the city, you have to show your passport, and when you get out, so whole SCZ, whole city is SCZ. So I had an opportunity with one Hong Kong-based company who had their plant in Shenzhen, about 2,500 people, workers, all staying within the premises in their own dormitory. And yes, so I worked with them for about 2 years and implemented a lot of things. And we talk of, to the extent of major things, I would say we grew, machine capacity grew by about 75% for about 2.5 years I was there. I, wanted to come back because I was alone. So keeping up with Chinese food was tough for me that time.
Absolutely. That's a difficult country to stay in.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, so we implemented, world talks of Six Sigma. So 1% defect is 10,000 parts per million. We achieve 1% is 10,000 parts per million. Where in India we talk 1% chalta hai, but world doesn't talk of percentage defects. They talk of ppm. So they will say 10,000 ppm defect. And we were able to give our assemblies to Canon. Canon was one of our customers at outgoing quality of only 100 ppm. Only 100 ppm. So you can imagine, 1% is, yes. So all this needs tremendous amount of working on the shop floor, right from design stage. Shop floor, it comes later, right from designing, planning materials, everything. So there also I did that. And when I came back, because so far I was, even though I was heading, it was more kind of OEM marketing. So far, on all going to the major OEMs. So there was no kind of direct marketing as such. So I got an opportunity. I thought I should do something in marketing to come back to India. And I was in a group in New Bombay, Elcom Group, which was purely marketing organization. There were 3 companies involved in electronic equipment for surveying equipment and for defense electronics and very high-tech electronics. And there also, I was there for about 4 years, and we grew by about 75% in top line. So that was marketing experience. Then this Hong Kong company called me back in China to set up a new company in 2002. But that was the SARS time, so I refused because SARS similar to COVID. And then I went in 2004. And I, again, for a short period only, I had said. So in 18 months, we grew 3 times. 3 times by adding only 50% direct manpower. Only 50% direct manpower. But we grew our revenue 3 times and our customer base also 3 times. All MNC customers like IBM, Lexmark, Siemens, ABB, Mitsubishi, etc. So we had to satisfy them for Six Sigma quality. And talking of lean, Canon again was our major customer. They had their own plant in the same city, about 20 odd kilometers away. So they used to give us a schedule for every 2 hours. See, next 2 hours, what all assemblies will you be? There will be 80 different types of products we were manufacturing. And every 2 hours, we were supposed to give delivery to them. So that kind of precision planning was required, which is what we call as just in time. So obviously you need materials, and material have to be planned, suppliers have to be worked with, all the back end, etc. So that was the experience. Good. I came back and was retired. I was kind of retired, but then L&T board knew that I'm there, and I have worked in China, and I had worked in L&T earlier. So they asked me to go back to China to start 4 manufacturing plants for China.
Oh, wonderful.
For in China for L&T. Different technologies, switchgear, control panel, third one was industrial valves, and fourth one was tire making machinery. So all kinds of technologies. So we set up these plants in probably record time, and approval from all the major OEM customers. All OEM customers, not Chinese customers. We were giving to all OEMs who were international companies like Schneider or ABB and others, valves to various big industrial companies or Chevron or Shell, etc., etc. And we got all the Chinese plants approved in record time, much, much faster than what India could do. Like I know the valve plant there was approved by Shell in 18 months. Yeah, 18, 19 months. Indian plant had taken 6 years. Shell is supposed to be the toughest approval for the valves manufacturing, and it was able to so again thinking, and that thinking has to be pushed down to the right up to the worker level. So that was a good experience, and we also started a big sourcing office there in Shanghai, because L&T that time was also close to about 100,000 crores, if I'm not wrong. Yes, today is about 160, 170,000 crores. But we started sourcing because China material costs were lower there, and we established sourcing office with good profitability, etc. So that gave me a very good experience. While in IBM, I'm sorry, in L&T in China, I also happened to start India Business Forum, which was part of CII initiative of CII. India Business Forum is a forum of all the Indian industries in China. About 150 people joined. I was the chairman, founding chairman, till the time 5-6 years I was there. So I was their chairman, and that's how I'm involved with CII. Still, I conduct training programs for them. I recently conducted a 2 days full-time residential training program for CII in their manufacturing excellence center in Vikhroli. 30 odd people from big industries, small and medium industries had attended. 2 day, full day program of this. So that was my journey for 46 years. If you see, technology wise, I have worked in all kinds of technologies: chemical, metallurgical, electrical, electronic, high tech electrical machinery, office making, heavy. So as I always keep saying, these lean or TQM techniques are irrespective of technology. Whatever you make, it's the thinking. It's the Japanese thinking which has come from Japanese, basically Toyota production system. That's what they call. And they say it's the thinking. It's a philosophy, and that's one thing which India needs today. Having come back here, I thought whatever I have learned so far in so many years of my working, I should pass down to the Indian industry, and that's why I started consulting. And now I'm teaching MBA programs. I teach lean management, I teach operations management, I teach strategic management and total quality management. These are the things which I feel Indian industry needs. Now today, with COVID situation, I'm sure all of you must be knowing, there's a tremendous pressure to change the supply chain from China to other countries. And India has tremendous advantage.
Potential.
Yes, because we are good. Brain power wise, we are definitely, with all due respect to China, much ahead of China, I would say. But discipline wise and systems and control wise, we are much inferior. Okay, so talking of board control also,
Exactly.
board control, again is different. Maybe we will talk later. Yeah, so I think I am taking a lot of time anyway. Go ahead with your.
So can you tell us your views on the Indian boards and how the lean technique can help the boardrooms?
Okay.
And which sectors, very specifically, is it lean or sector based, or it can be applicable to everyone?
Okay, so I'll answer that last question first.
Yes.
Lean is irrespective of anything, including office works. Lean can be applied in office works also, okay? Because there are a lot of things, what I just said, three major factors, which we call overall equipment effectiveness. One is the availability, how long, what is your availability percentage. Second is how much you work as compared to standard, and third is what is the quality. Same thing applies to people. Out of 8 hours, how much time are you physically working? That is the first factor. The second factor is, again, standard. You are asked to make a certain analysis or reports, you should have taken, let's say, 1 hour, instead you have taken 3 hours, so you're 33% efficient. Third is quality of reports or quality of work. So same thing. So coming back to Indian boards, yes, Indian boards uh, have to get more involved with the CEOs and the senior management. This is what I feel. See, board's responsibility, I would put it as 3 AEI: align the objectives, enable the organization to achieve the objective, and I is improve. Okay. Now, aligning the objectives is, of course, set the goals, vision, mission, etc. Now, just take this COVID as an example. Okay. Uh, if today I'm owning a company, or I'm, let's say, chairman of a board, I would look for opportunity for the company to grow the business, catch hold of business whatever China is doing, because all the other countries are taking away to the East Asian countries like Indonesia, Vietnam, Malaysia, Thailand. They are taking away the business from China, because even Japanese companies want to get out of China. So many, most of the companies are, and not get out, at least try and have a second source. So that's a big opportunity, and it's for the board to look for this opportunity. Now they would look for only if they get involved in details. Okay. So first thing was, as I said, A is aligning with the goal. Second one is E is enable. Now enabling the organization to move forward. Now enabling also, the board has a lot to play there in terms of laying down the guidelines of working and the culture of the organization. Result oriented culture, as I just gave you example of, growing 3 times in 18 months, or reducing the scrap, etc., etc. Now, unless the board gets involved in this and drives the senior management, CEO and the senior management, to start firstly making out a plan, how do you achieve? Second, report, how do you achieve? And if there are variations from the plan, how do what are you planning to do? Now, these things, frankly, in Indian boards today, except big ones. Yes, I have talked to big companies also through CII. I was involved as a panel for their innovation awards series recently, and I had opportunity to visit big companies like even Tata Chemicals or Indian Mint, etc., etc. So but coming to MSME sector, I think the involvement of board with the senior management has to be there in AEI. So first we talked of aligning, then enabling. Third is improving. Improving you can do through process improvement. One of the first principles of TQM is customer focus. That is number one. Number two is work on processes. Third is teamwork. And fourth is continuous improvement. The same philosophy has to be used by the board. Okay. Now, in this case, the customers are, you can say for the board, the customers are the stakeholders, the society, the people, the management. They're all the customers of the board. Now, so the board has to lay the guidelines and ensure that the authority is delegated to people, but people come out with their own plans. Okay, for all the things, like it's not only finance, it's regarding people, it's regarding the processes, it's regarding the growth, it's regarding lean implementation. And the board should get, as Japanese say, one-page report. One-page report. Their reports, they call it one-page report, where you have all the things given, all your progress. What was your plan? What have you done? What are the variations? And what are the plans to get back to the plan if there are variations? So all this must be reported on a single page. And with this computer, you can give links. So the one-page report of I have seen in, for example, Tata Chemicals. Yes, their one-page report going to the board is phenomenal, and they have all these lean and TQM and the combination of Six Sigma and TQM, what is known as lean Six Sigma. All these techniques are used. So this is where I think the boards have to get more active, and big foreign companies like Netflix, the company which has grown phenomenally over the last 10 years, one of their major philosophy of the board is the board members go and sit in senior management meeting as observers. Very rarely it happens in India. They're
Absolutely.
just
I mean, this
observers.
is something which I have never come across.
Yes, they're just observers to find out andar ki baat, what's happening, right? To really find out, that gives them an opportunity to see the skill levels of the people, like senior management, how they are handling the other management, how is their reporting structure, okay, how they are getting the reports, how they are questioning the staff. So Netflix had started this almost 8-10 years ago. There are a lot of US companies there. In my presentation I'll give a US healthcare companies, they say unless you follow lean, you will be wiped out. Let me tell you a very interesting thing. There's one Dr. Atul Gawande, an Indian doctor who has done a lot of work with companies, and he has proven that the success rate of operations, normally we think it depends on the skill of the surgeon. He has proven it wrong. He says no, it's the systems which you follow, for which he calls checklists. So he involved, even because airline industry has got tremendous checklists, obviously human lives are involved. So he involved some people from airline industry, from Boeing, and he proved, and he has conducted experiments throughout India, many countries, Western countries, East Asian countries, and he has proven that the success rate, or let's say reducing the death rate, is dependent on how good you are in your systems and checklists while doing the operation. And he has broken down the operation process itself into 3 or 4 stages. And the senior doctor comes only to do the final operation. All the rest of the things, like an assembly line thing, are being done by junior doctors or nurses, etc., etc. So that's an application of lean. That's a clear application of lean thinking. So this is what American companies are doing. They say if we don't do it, we'll be wiped out. Okay, so that is the thing. That's where the lean can be used in the Indian boards. So Indian boards have to get little more involved instead of being little optional. Sorry.
Absolutely, absolutely. So one question I would like to ask you, when we really, I mean, absolutely, you have, with your experience, you have seen the boards of the bigger companies. But when we come to the SME, MSME sector, do the boards really exist? That's my question. So, what your interaction with the companies say? That because when you say that boards don't get involved, I have seen otherwise, probably boards over involve into the day-to-day operations so much that they miss out on the strategic part. So what
Okay.
are your views on that?
Yeah, you are correct. So boards do get involved. Definitely they get involved, but they get involved in, what
Wrong.
should I say, micromanagement. That is not required from a board member. Okay,
Right.
whether he's an MD or a director, etc. Micromanagement he has to leave, but he has to give a sense of direction, what all is required to be done. Okay, so that's one important thing. Yes, the board members have to have a vision. Now, with my experience, I go to a couple of industries, private limited companies. Yeah, there are boards, but there are two things, again, to the board, with all due respects to the board, there are two things: doing the right thing and doing it the right way. The two things.
Hmm.
Many of the things we are doing the right way. Maybe, like, I go to companies which are 30 years old, exporting 80% of their products abroad. Okay, but probably they are doing it right. Okay, with their thinking which is 30 years back. Okay, with change scenario, with technology coming in, with IT coming in, have they upgraded their thinking, or have they upgraded their factories, or upgraded their suppliers to work for 21st century? And with COVID coming, with the amount of pressure, the industries where I go for, they are under pressure. The customers say, we'll cancel the order if you don't deliver on time. Now we have already lost, let's say, 1.5 months in lockdown. Another 15 days will go. Okay, So you have lost 2 months out of this financial year. You can just think April, unfortunately, was fortunately was financial year. So 2 months gone. I would, with all due respects, I don't know what will happen, but with the companies I go, I have already planned for how can I give the same production in 8 months or 9 months. That means assuming, so two scenarios I have worked with the board, either that there is a 3 months lockdown, that means you work for 9 months, and if there's a 4 months lockdown, you work for 8 months. Now, what all we have to do to still satisfy the customer, that is where the lean will come. How do you give the same revenue or more revenue in 8 months, which you did in 12 months? Now, this kind of analytical thinking, so this is what I was saying is going in the what direction? Strategic thinking, as you said. This is strategic thinking. Doing it the right way, yes. If you are a machine shop, you know, the board member or the MD knows, yeah, how to run machine shop. But he, or if it's a die casting company, I go, he knows, he's running die casting machine. But whether he is running with 100% efficiency or 30% efficiency, he doesn't know.
Correct.
Because so far they were making money, they are happy, right? So this is, I would call, is an unconscious incompetence. They don't know that they don't know that they don't know so many things.
Right. Absolutely.
So that's the thing. That is where I think lean thinking of the board should get should come into the MSME sector. MSME sector, as you know, probably contributes 45% to the country's exports. They employ, I think, almost 11 or 12 crore people. There are 6 crore. I was last figure I know was 6 crores MSME companies. Okay, now imagine the tremendous and so many. It has opportunity to employ people, it's an opportunity to export, but still we are not. What should I say? It should be energized. The energy level of the boards of the MSME companies has to definitely go up. Okay,
Absolutely.
they may be much younger than me, but energy, probably what I see wherever I go, is the energy level to improve. Yes, I can do. If China can do, I can't do. Like one of the companies go, that the customers, American customers, have told them you reduce the cost by 20%. How can one reduce the cost by 20%? But yes, you have to think. You have to become young by thinking. For thinking, you need learning. Unfortunately, people who stop learning become old.
Exactly. When you stop learning, you stop growing.
Yes, I
Absolutely
work for
well said.
53 years. Still, I learn. I teach. So when I teach younger people, I learn. I have to read. Okay,
Wonderful.
what's happening? Because 50 years ago, what was the technology? When I did my post graduation on OR, which is highly mathematical, we were not even allowed to use calculators.
Calculator.
Okay, now today you have fast computers and so many things. So can I say that yes, I have studied only calculator or log table, so I will use log table today, I'll be wiped out? So that's what happens. That's what happens. We have to gear up with the technology and the thinking and the technique. Technology is one, and techniques are another thing. These are techniques. TQM or lean is a technique, irrespective of the technology or product you make. Okay, so it's the technique. So people have to keep learning. So that's one of the philosophy of Toyota Production System. Keep learning. There are 14 principles. One of the principles is keep learning, and that's where that is the third one. Improve. So improve is by process thinking. Okay, process thinking, continuous improvement, and kaizen. Now, how do you can't be thinking that yes, what we were doing 30 years ago would be still giving you results under such difficult concern. Maybe yes, so far it's okay. Competition was not there, but the competition will come. And I can tell you in electronics, I have spent a lot of time in electronics in China. Most of the big foreign companies are going to Vietnam, not coming to India. Very few. Of course, mobile industry did come because they gave a lot of SOPs to Indian industry. But I'm sorry to say that a lot of companies are going to East Asian country. Indonesia and in Vietnam are giving us tough time. So because they have learned these techniques, they are closer to China, closer to Japan. These techniques all came from Japan, then taken over by Singapore, Taiwan, Korea, and these countries are closer to them, and people interact and all that thing. We unfortunately chalta hai, we are little kind of slow in Indian industry to absorb these things. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. And I would also now like to ask you on a lighter note, how you have been spending your retirement time, how you rejuvenate yourself, or how you remain so energetic at this age also.
Okay. You said age, right? There are different ages. One is chronological age, which nobody can do anything, right?
Yes.
Next is your mental age, which is in our hand. If I think I'm old, I will become old. If I think I'm young, I'll remain young. Okay.
Absolutely.
So for physical young, you have to be, yes, controlling yourself. As I said, lean looks at hidden losses. So same thing in body also. What is hidden problem is the fat.
Oh.
Okay. Yes. So in my presentations, I do that things, and it's like a fat which you don't see. So same thing, lean looks at things which is not to be seen. So fat is one thing. So coming back to your thing, how do I keep fit? Yes, I have to ensure that I don't become fat. So for that, I have to control my eating, time, disciplining, walking. These days, of course, going out is a problem. But anyway, you have to find alternate ways of doing exercise. So that is physical part. Mental age is, as I said, learning. If you are learning, if you are in touch with with younger people, okay, to know you, most of the people would say, "Arey, hamare gold is gold." Yes, I'm not saying old is bad. Old is gold, but there are new things, new technologies, new technique coming. Okay, so learn them. So you have to interact with the latest. That's the reason I teach also. When you interact with children, okay, who are doing MBA, their thinking is much different than when I was of their age, right? The techniques and technologies are different. So then I have to find out from them. I have to learn. I have to read. So that keeps me fit and young mentally also. So chronological, I can't do anything. God has given that. But if I take care of the physical and the mental, I think I'm young. So that keeps me energized fully even today. During the lockdown, I keep doing webinars for the companies. For CII, I do for these companies, and now um, mentor MMB also. I don't mind, but that will keep me
We're
fit.
so happy to have you with us as
Thank you.
a mentor.
Yeah,
And I'm
thank you.
sure with your webinar series, we would be able to help a lot of industries into various industrial areas, a lot of boards, a lot of directors, and especially, as you said, improve and keep learning is where, and this is the time basically that a lot of companies, a lot of directors and the top management executives can invest a lot of time in learning these techniques, and once the lockdown is over, those things can be implemented in the companies
That's right.
to match
One,
up.
yeah,
Absolutely.
one philosophy I have is, which I keep telling people, yes, if you improve, you should be happy, but you should never be satisfied. The moment you are satisfied, your desire to learn goes away.
Goes away.
So if I have, let's say, achieved 98% quality, and if I go to 98 and a half, yeah, you should be happy. But your goal should still be 100. And in lean, they say your goal should be perfection. So either you go aim for 0 or aim for 100, nothing in between. If you aim for 100, you will go, yes, people aim for much lower. Okay, yeah, chalo 90 mil gaya, theek hai. But if you aim for 90, you will hit 70. But if you aim for 100, you may hit definitely 80, 85, 90. So aim for the best, perfection. That's one thing to remain fit and young, etc., etc. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
My
And
pleasure.
it was really indeed wonderful listening to you, your wonderful journey into the corporate sector, and such a huge experience which you have. And I'm sure to the audience here, let me tell you, we are coming out with a wonderful webinar series by J.J. Shrikhande, sir, on the lean management, lean boards, and how you can improve your efficiencies at the board level as well as your company level. So if you really think that you are doing the things right, then let's understand from Shrikhande sir how to do them right way. So stay tuned, and we will be definitely circulating the date and the registration link along with this series. So stay tuned with us. Thank you, Shrikhande sir. Thank you for this
Thank you. My
wonderful.
pleasure. And I'd
Thank you.
be too glad to associate with MMB advisors and the board, various boards, and wherever I can help, I would be too willing to help.
Your
Okay.
experience would definitely help
Yeah.
a lot of companies and boardrooms. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.